0864. Stations your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
The following is a presentation of Learfield. Welcome to Duck Insider.
Our whole athletic department, there's a level of expectations of success.
Throw, catch, touchdown, Oregon.
He can run and slam.
This is back out for a three. Left wing is good.
In the air to center, back at the wall. It's out of here.
Really excited that we get to rep our Ducks and hopefully come back to Eugene with some championships.
Indoor track and field national champion.
Oregon repeats as the Pac-12 champion.
And for the fourth time in the last 6 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions.
We have so many teams that are excelling right now, and it's really fun to be a part of.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Thank you. It's going to be a busy day. We're going to talk with the voice of the Stanford Cardinal, Scott Reiss, the view from the other side of this matchup coming up between Oregon and Stanford. 12:30 kickoff on ABC, a 10:30 pregame show for us across the Oregon Sports Network, and of course, Jerry and Georgie will be on the call. GoDucks.com/OSN where you can tune in. Encourage you. There's a lot of different ways to sync it up and get your audio matched for TV. A lot of different providers, so we can't give you a one-size-fits-all explanation for you, but if you have a question, you can email me. That's right. I've actually gotten a few this week. It's been great of fans being like, okay, so what do you recommend in this situation? This is what I've got. Email me. You can find my email. It's going to be easier that way than me trying to say it on the air. You'll see why when you find it. Staff directory of GoDucks.com. Scroll down to the Oregon Sports Network. You'll find me. Some fun announcements today from Oregon Athletics in addition. And we also have a Throwback Thursday that I have no idea what it is. So Scott has actually picked it out for us. Scott's in charge of Throwback Thursday that you'll see on the Oregon football social media. So I'm flying blind. Scott has to tell us what it is. We also have to tell you that tomorrow we're going to have an early show because we will be on a plane down to the Bay Area. We're going to do the show for those of you who are watching live on the video streams, GoDucks, Facebook, whatever. We're going to do the show from 11 to noon. Jerry and Georgie will join me. We'll make our Pac-12 picks brought to you by Sylvan Ridge Winery. Georgie's tied for first place now. Not happy about it, but good for you, Georgie. 11 to noon is when we will do the show, and then for those of you who tune in via the various other options for Duck Insider, regular times for you on that, GoDucks.com/Duck Insider, but an early show for you live. We're going to hear from Anthony Brown coming up, also Jalen Redd as we zero in on the Oregon football offense. Might get to Verone McKinley today. We'll see. Real quick, though, but before we get to the nuts and bolts of the show, several alumni and prominent Oregon donors, including Pat Kilkenny, Ed Miletus, Jim Morse, and the Pape family, Nike co-founder Phil Knight, announced today the formation of Division Street Inc., a sport venture that will supercharge name, image, and likeness opportunities for University of Oregon athletes. The company seeks to help student athletes create and monetize their brands in a way that enables them to focus on the two most important parts of their collegiate journey, academics and sport. A lot more out there if you want to read about it. Sabrina Ionescu is going to be a senior advisor for this, as trying to, take Oregon athletics and Oregon athletes to the next level. Pretty darn cool. Without further ado, though, I have to introduce you to the guy who we're kind of hoping is going to want to co-host Duck Insider basically every Thursday and any other day, because Sean McPherson's here again, ladies and gentlemen. Sean.
We're back.
Sean is, what did we decide? OSN Broadcast Intern Extraordinaire?
Extraordinaire, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the official title, OSN Broadcast Intern Extraordinaire. And I'm telling you, if you put that on a resume, I think that you'd get some phone calls about it.
Yeah?
People would be like, so what exactly was that?
I would say, I don't know. Joey came up with it on the spot, didn't put much thought into it, and, just came up with it on the show.
That's what happens.
So that's my title.
Sean also is one of the ones who has been out as part of our intern group collecting interviews that you've seen on the show, that you heard on the coaches show last night, that you see on YouTube. That all comes from Sean and our crew. Sean, though, interested in broadcasting. I've tried to talk him out of it, everybody. I have. And he still wants to be part of it, and he's a great broadcaster. So Now we get to talk about what we're going to see on Saturday. All right, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I didn't tell Sean I was going to ask him this question.
Oh, boy.
Keys to the game: Oregon, Stanford. What does it take for the Ducks to win on Saturday?
So I've been doing my Stanford-Oregon charts over the last couple of days, and I think Stanford's glaring weakness is rush defense. They're 12th in the Pac-12 in rushing defense efficiency. So I think there's a C.J. Verdell. He didn't get a ton of run last week. Neither did Travis Dye. Those guys, 12 carries, 5 carries respectively against Arizona. I think the Ducks really have to pound the rock this week and take advantage of a little flimsy Stanford front seven and a pretty poor rush defense so far through 4 games.
Yeah, and it's crazy too because Stanford had a bunch of injuries actually in their secondary. That's where their injuries have been focused on the defensive side of the ball, and yet it's been the rush defense that's been so susceptible. And Joe Moorhead talked about this week, that you've got a lot of different options in the backfield for the Ducks. And first you say if you pass 50% of the time and you run 50% of the time, then you're going to take those plays that are left and divide it amongst other running backs. Well, Sean, in that case, guys like C.J. Verdell and Travis Dye, there's limited carries. Got to maximize those carries for those guys as well.
Absolutely. And, Anthony Brown, I think, is going to see a lot more rushes this week as well. It was cool to see Seven McGee out there last week as well. I mean, he caught a big pass. He had a couple other opportunities for big plays. Wouldn't be surprised to see Trey Benson. I just think this is the Ducks. I think, when you think of trenches in the Pac-12, you think of Stanford traditionally, and now Oregon's establishing this identity of winning in the trenches. So I think this game's going to be won in the trenches either way.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Jorgie would tell you that it's always won or lost in the trenches, and these are two teams that really believe in that. And that's kind of been, to be honest, the staple of this matchup has been whoever controls the line of scrimmage has won. I even go back to really like the Chip Kelly, Jim Harbaugh days where these two teams were truly the class of the conference. That's how it was won, was when the Ducks would control the line of scrimmage or if Stanford controlled the line of scrimmage. And then sometimes it came down to a tight end who was out of bounds or a field goal. Scott knows what I'm talking about. A tight end who was out of bounds.
I remember as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
We don't like to think about that. Who else might remember that, though? Scott Reiss. Maybe we'll talk to him about that coming up. The voice of the Cardinal going to join us. I do want to hear from Anthony Brown, though. This week, got a chance to catch up with him. Sean, actually, I think, was out there. Were you holding the mic for this one? I don't remember now.
I don't remember either.
There's been so many interviews that we've collected over the course of the week that they blend together. Oregon quarterback Anthony Brown, though, some of his thoughts heading into a matchup with the Stanford Cardinal at 12:30 on Saturday.
When you look at Stanford on film, just what stands out when you're preparing for them?
Physicality. Extremely physical team, really smart. They know what they're doing and they execute it well. So just have to prepare to be just have to prepare to execute and be physical in this game.
What have you seen from their corners in particular, where it sounds like they're going to be down a couple of guys, but they still got a lot of size in particular corner, but just what have you seen from their guys?
A lot of size in their corners. Very fluid athletes. They use their hands well. They play the ball in the air really well. And we just got to be able to attack the ball and execute what we're doing.
This team seems to be having a lot of fun right now, man. Has that kind of been the experience here the last 4 weeks for you?
I would say so.
Yeah. What's been the biggest thing just in terms of getting that chemistry together? I know we're kind of a few weeks removed from what last season sort of was in terms of being able to build it, but being able to hang out with each other off campus, being able to, be in meeting rooms with each other. I'd imagine building this team through 4 weeks looks a lot different than it did through 4 weeks of last year.
I would say just being around each other and being able to be around each other a lot more was the biggest part. And as you get around each other more, you get closer, and I feel like we're a family, so that's really big.
What's something about Terrence Ferguson that gives you the confidence to put him in the end zone recently?
The kid's talented. You watch him on film in the games, and he does it every day in practice. So he really does it well in practice, which translates to the games. So that is where my confidence comes in with him.
You've really been able to spread the ball around to a lot of different receivers this year. How nice is it for you to know that wherever you look on the field, you've got a really talented guy that's going to be catching the ball?
It's a blessing, to say the least, honestly.
How do you go about defining success or grading yourself, AB, in terms of, like Joe mentions about, like the goal of 65% completion percentage? I don't know if 3 more completions would have necessarily radically changed, your weekend last weekend, but how do you evaluate when you're looking back at yourself if you're playing well or achieving what you want?
Very critical on myself, but at this point, we're winning, and it's the only stat that really matters. Worry about the other stuff later. So.
Do you have a completion percentage in particular in your own head?
I do. I'm not going to share it with you, but I do.
Higher or lower than Joe's 65?
Higher.
So looks like the deal with the O-line, that going to be a Monday tradition now, taking out the guys?
Absolutely. It was supposed to be earlier, but we had to work some things out, and yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. What he's referencing there is Anthony Brown took out all the offensive linemen and said, hey, you guys protect me, I take care of you. That, there's always that long-running joke in football, right, that like the quarterback always got to buy the steak dinner for the offensive line kind of a thing. There's a reason for that. He protects those guys. I think that's pretty great. All right, so Throwback Thursday. Scott picked it out this week. It actually just, if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, just went out on the Oregon football social media channel. So you went back to what, 2008? November of 2008 in a rivalry matchup that, well, for 2 ranked teams, you wouldn't know that one of them was ranked by the time it was over.
Masola's going to throw it. Caught by Mayo. It'll be a touchdown, Oregon. Trying to go outside. There's a little hole. He gets through. He's off to the races. Down to the 10, out of bounds. Give him the ball, running right. The 3, the 2, to touchdown, Oregon. On the option, the pitch. Here's the throw way downfield for Mayo. And it's going to be caught. What a catch. And we'll give it to Jeremiah in a huge hole. He's got a first down and more. Still on his feet at the 30. He's going to score. Can you believe it? Touchdown, Oregon. Downfield going to go out, and it is intercepted. It'll be for a score. Touchdown, Oregon. Back to throw. Throwing the fade route downfield. It is caught, and Scott's off. 50. Can he catch it from behind? No, they will not. It's a touchdown, Oregon. And will try to get it to the sideline. Try to get away. Throws it downfield. It's caught by Dixon. Down to the 15 to the 10 to the 5. He's going to score. Way back. Dumps it over the middle. Intercepted. It's over now. To the 10. It's a touchdown. And that will say that about that. 64-38.
Oh, God, that was a good one. Jerry Allen, of course, on the call. Anytime you get a bunch of touchdown Oregons from Jerry, I mean, Jeremiah Johnson, Ed Dixon, Jeff Mail, just a few of the names that stick out. That was a fun one. Taking down Oregon State.
I remember exactly where a 9-year-old me was sitting for that
Where
game.
were you?
I was at my friend's house, and my friend's dad was a huge Ducks fan. He was the reason why I grew up being a huge Ducks fan, and
Excellent.
watched it in that room.
So we owe that fan, and we owe in part this game for you sitting in this chair.
I guess so.
See, that's a Throwback Thursday with meaning right there. Scott obviously must have known all of this before we did it today. I remember watching that game actually as well. It was, I want to say that was a later kickoff. I think it was an evening game.
4:07 p.m.
4:07. What an accurate kickoff description.
Ended at 7:40.
Ended at 7:40, huh? Yeah, I remember watching that because that was, look, we know that with Dennis Dixon, that was when the rise kind of really got real for the Ducks. But I think that confirmed that it wasn't just Dennis Dixon, right? Like that was the season where it was like, no, this is a program. This wasn't just one special quarterback. There were a lot of good things going on for the Ducks. And, hey, anytime you beat the Beavs. Real question for you, Sean. Washington, Oregon State this weekend.
Yeah.
Who do the Ducks want to win that game?
Oh, man. I think the Ducks would rather Washington win that game because, if you ask me, I think Oregon State's looked a little bit more formidable this season than Washington. So if you look at the Pac-12 North standings, I think Oregon State's more of a threat. Would you agree?
Probably. I think that Washington it's going to be hard for Washington to overcome that black eye of the Montana game. Whereas Oregon State, I think it's a little easier to overcome the Purdue black eye.
They didn't even have their quarterback that day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right, coming up, we're going to switch gears, talk a little bit with the voice of Stanford, Scott Reiss, the view from the other side of this 12:30 kickoff on Saturday. Scott Reiss joins us next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear Exit Strategy, no matter which Toyota you choose, there's an exit from the ordinary to match. See you soon, Toyota. Visit your local Toyota dealer or Toyota.com today. Toyota, Let's go places.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Dear Exit Strategy. No matter which Toyota you choose, there's an exit from the ordinary to match. See you soon, Toyota. Visit your local Toyota dealer or Toyota.com today. Toyota. Let's go places.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
You're not too cool for me. And in return, I reciprocate that sentiment. I'll never be too cool for you. I was a man with a plan, but now I'm a dad with a decree, and you can't take that from me. Please let it be noted that I told my job they can dock my pay. Right now, it's just too important to take you to school every day. I want to be legendary for you. I want you to puff out your chest when you go to school, the same way I do. I walk taller because of you, because I found everything to live for.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too. Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and experiences connect through conversation, and it feels good.
This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too. Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together. Start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
We're back at the Country Financial Studio. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Now the view from the other side of this, what I'll call a North Division rivalry matchup. The voice of Stanford, Scott Reiss, is joining us. All right, Scott, last time you and I talked, it was during all of the height of the pandemic, trying to figure out how to play a football game. It's been a little bit less than a year since we last spoke. How are things down in California? How are things in a more regular season this time around?
More regular is probably the best way to put it. It's every day continues to be an adventure, and suffice it to say, we are not through the pandemic, but things are in a much better place, obviously, for everybody than we were a year ago. And I mean, I think I speak for all of us when I say just nice to know that you're going to have a game on Saturday, and you're pretty sure that is at least the case.
I'm 100% with you. Scott Reiss joining us. We'll talk a little bit about this matchup. All right, Scott, I said this is really like a rivalry matchup. This has really, I think, been the two teams that have been the class, not just of the North, but of the Pac-12 for probably the better part of 2 decades now. What do you think? What's the view from down there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody here understands the significance of this game as well, and not just historically and not just looking back over the last decade, but for where we are in the here and now. I mean, obviously Oregon, off to the start, top 5 in the country, in the driver's seat. But you look around the Pac-12 North and you see Washington State has struggled, and Washington has struggled, and Cal has struggled. And so if you're Stanford, you're kind of looking around thinking, all right, well, we've been pretty good and we've had flashes of brilliance. You can figure out a way to win this game. It maybe puts Stanford in the driver's seat in terms of controlling the division. Right. So there's no questioning, the enormity of this game on Saturday.
Some of the best matchups between these two teams, too, I think have been real classics. There's been some spoilers on both sides of this matchup, and Stanford's hoping to play that this weekend, right?
Yeah, but I don't think Stanford goes into a game, hoping to play spoiler. I mean, I think, that David Shaw is really adept at getting his guys mentally ready for whoever the opponent is, and convincing them that whether the opponent is better or worse or the same on paper as you are, that you go into it with the same mentality. So I think, from a confidence standpoint, they don't see this as David versus Goliath. And frankly, I don't either. I don't think the chasm is that massive. But I do think that Oregon is a really good team, and Stanford's going to have to bring its A game to win.
This is a matchup of two just great teams over the last few years. So let's go through the season so far for Stanford, Scott. I mean, catch Duck fans up 2-2. I think that Stanford had a lot of different chances to win that game against UCLA. K-State, maybe a different story. What's been your assessment of the Cardinals so far?
Yeah, I mean, K-State was a dud, by all accounts. And, it's easy to write it off as the 9 a.m. start time. It's easy easy to write it off as they hadn't decided on the quarterback, so they started, a guy who is no longer number one on the depth chart, and whether that cost them. But the bottom line is they didn't play well. They didn't deserve to win the game, and they didn't. So, you move on. I think the bounce back at SC was huge to not only win that game, but to win it decisively as they did. And then last week, they shot themselves in the foot early on, right? I mean, you can't start a game with 5 straight 3-and-outs, right, against a quality opponent and expect to win. Now, that said, they still came back and were tied in the fourth quarter. So you kind of go back and figure, man, if the first quarter wasn't such a disaster offensively, who knows what might have happened. But, it was the first home game for Tanner McKee. It was a record student section turnout, so maybe there were some butterflies. Maybe he looked up and saw, 7,500 of his buddies in the stands and was a little nervous, and it took him a while to settle down. And Stanford was without 3 of its rotational running backs, including their starters, so I'm sure that had an effect too. But bottom line is, they didn't do enough to win, and now they're 2-2.
You talked about the quarterback play. I mean, there's been a lot of praise for Tanner McKee from the coaching staff up here, Scott. What can you tell Duck fans about him? How good is he? Yeah, he's legit. I mean, he is the real deal. And I say that, with all due discretion, given that he's got 2 collegiate starts under his belt. But, people ask me about Tanner because his backstory is so interesting. And I say, well, he's a sophomore academically. He's a freshman athletically, but he's a senior biologically and mentally, right? Because he went on the 2-year mission. So this is not your typical college sophomore. He's more mature physically. He's had 4 years to immerse himself in the playbook and that sort of thing. So he's a lot more game ready than a lot of sophomores would be at this point, especially with the complex Stanford playbook and the offense that he's got to run. But tangibles, intangibles, it's all there, Joey. I mean, it's all there. And he has the ceiling of a first-round draft pick in the NFL, so we'll see if he reaches it and how quickly he reaches it. He said he's been one of the better guys that Coach Cristobal's seen, and that's saying something, because Coach Cristobal, I'll tell you, he doesn't praise easily. We've learned that over the years around here in Eugene. Scott Reiss joining us, the voice of the Stanford Cardinal. He'll have the call on the Stanford side of things coming up for the 12:30 kickoff on Saturday. The obvious question for you, Scott, the running backs. What's that position group looking like right now?
Yeah, that one caught a lot of us by surprise last week. Heading into the season, I think the storyline for Stanford offensively, the first thing out of everybody's mouth was, well, we love our running back room, so deep, so talented. And then lo and behold, that depth is tested a little when 3 of your 4, right, are out for 1 game. I believe that they will have 2 of those 3 back, including Casey Filkins, who's the Oregon guy. Some people up there probably have interest in. So my guess is you will see more of a 3-headed rotation with Austin Jones, Nathaniel Pete, and Casey Filkins. But again, that's not definitive, so don't hold me to it, in terms of if or how much they will be back. But the tea leaves seem to suggest they'll at least have a couple of those guys back.
Well, I could say the same thing about a couple guys on the Oregon defense. Looks like they'll be back, but same thing, Scott. Don't hold me to it, okay? We'll find out with that 12:30 kickoff. Every time Oregon plays Stanford, there's a narrative of Stanford's this physical team that wants to control the trenches. That the case this year? What's the offensive line? What's the defensive line look like in the trenches for the Cardinal?
Yeah, they'd like to control the trenches, and that's one of the things I think you have to admire about what Mario Cristobal has done up there, right, is that, this is not just the lightning-fast run-by-you Oregon teams of LaMichael James and company 10 years ago. I mean, this is, a team that will now beat you up physically, and that has always been the Stanford model, and that is the model to which they still aspire. Haven't gotten there yet. The offensive line, I think pass blocking has been pretty good. The run blocking still needs to get better. And they're going to be without arguably their best offensive lineman to this point in time, Branson Bragg. So that's a hole they're going to have to fill. And defensively, it's the same story. You got to get pressure on the quarterback. We saw a great effort from Thomas Booker, who's their star on the defensive line a week ago. I think, he needs to continue to elevate his game, hopefully elevate those around him. And, we'll see how they match up physically against, maybe the most physical team they're going to play all year.
Yeah, you brought up a name I was going to ask you about in Thomas Booker. I mean, it seems like defensively he jumps off the screen at you when you watch. The rest of the defense, so you mentioned getting pressure on the quarterback. How do they match up with this Stanford team? What's your take there?
So the secondary heading into the season, I think a lot of people looked at that and said, secondary's got to be better. a lot of question marks, and then boom, we're without 3 out of 4 projected starters in the secondary. And so these 4 games could have been an unmitigated disaster. And honestly, it's been anything but. They have been really, really good. And true freshmen have stepped in and done the job. They're still without those injured guys, but they've proven a lot deeper than I think anybody expected. So that really hasn't been the problem. They've been good against the pass. The problem has been stopping the run. And obviously, when you're going up against C.J. Verdell and Travis Dye, that's not an ideal scenario, right? So, for me, if you look at a key to matching up with Oregon on that side of the ball, it's, the front seven. They're not going to stop this running attack, but can they contain it enough to make Oregon need to throw the ball a little bit more? And that's where I think they believe they can have success.
So it sounds like that's a key to the game. I always like to ask, just what is the key to the game for Stanford? What are the keys to the game for the Cardinal?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. And it's, it's sort of a broken record because it's been the key, I think, certainly since week 1 against Kansas State is, run the ball, stop the run, right? But both of which have been inconsistent to this point in the season. If Stanford can run the ball, I think they feel real good about their ability to move it through the air. The receivers have been great. They're getting their starting tight end back this week, Ben Urosek. So, I think you got to be able to run the ball and sustain drives and then defensively stop the run. It's so trite. It's such a simple answer, but it really is the case for Stanford.
Well, that's the way that Oregon head coach Mario Cristobal always answers that question. He might change around the phrasing a little bit when he gets asked about the keys, but it's always run the ball and stop the run. That's pretty much what it boils down to. Scott Reiss, I got to tell you, first of all, or last of all, I guess, the over-under for anybody that we do an interview with at home for dog barks, for me it's like 30. So, man, taking the under for you, I am thoroughly impressed because I cannot tell you how many of these I do from home, and I can't get through 5 minutes without 30 barks at the back door.
Yeah, it's the beauty of the world as we live in, and I give my wife a lot of credit because usually once the dog starts going, nobody can do anything. Somehow she ushered the little pooch out of the room. So props to her, and hope this sounded reasonably okay.
It was great. No, Scott, I tell you, I can't thank you enough. I had to say something because I've been on the other end of that where I'm trying to run to a different room, and it's, oh man, this is still the world that we live in. But here's to a little bit more normalcy. I'm excited to be back down on the farm, Scott. Looking forward to seeing you in person this time around for that 12:30 kickoff. Thanks for the time and have a great broadcast.
It's going to be fun anytime, Joey. See you here.
When we come back, we're going to talk about a graduated Duck in DJ Johnson who's made a big impact both in the classroom, in the community, and on the field. All that coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You aced vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesmaned the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can STEM, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Or clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can STEM, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM. Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
Throwback on Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack alongside Sean McPherson joining us. OSN intern extraordinaire. I feel like I got to start saying, though, like broadcast intern extraordinaire, but then also if I just say intern extraordinaire, I don't know, it seems like it just groups in with more things. Like it's more vague, but it's a good thing. I don't know. What do you think?
We have a ton of intern extraordinaires. Like
True.
In this, I feel like broadcast intern extraordinaire is what makes me a little bit more unique than most people.
See, all right, see, that's good self-branding right
about
there.
this.
That's
Thought
good.
about this.
Okay.
You do your title. I have to change your titles.
That's right. Okay, so OSN broadcast intern extraordinaire.
It's a lot.
Sean McPherson joining us. Well, hey, you've heard me joke about this before. The longer your title, the more important you are until your title is just an abbreviation. Like if you're just AD or just CEO, then you've like really made it. But until then, you want your title to be as long and convoluted as possible because apparently you're more important that way.
It's like a
right?
psychological thing.
I guess.
To employers.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's actually a psychological thing that anybody else has thought about, but I've thought about it. You know, that it just seems like titles are always crazy long instead of, and we all just end up abbreviating it anyway. Like my title isn't broadcaster, but it should just be broadcast schmuck. Right? Like that's what it should be. So anyway, every week we like to do a feature called Graduated Ducks. It's brought to you by our friends at Graduate Eugene, hotel located in the heart of downtown. If you haven't been to Graduate Eugene, if you're ever staying in the Eugene area, need a hotel, perfect place to stay, and you get actually a little history tour of a lot of Tracktown memorabilia actually throughout the entire lobby. It's pretty cool. They've got a great setup at Graduate Eugene. This week, I thought it was fitting to feature DJ Johnson. So DJ Johnson initially came to Oregon after being at Miami, and he was a defensive end. Came in, sat out the regular season in 2018 due to transfer rules, utilizing a redshirt, and then played in the final 13 games of the season as a redshirt sophomore in 2019. The Ducks, though, a little short-handed when he went into his junior year in 2020. It was like, well, he's a heck of an athlete. Let's try him out at tight end. And what do you know, in 2020, as the Ducks were a little banged up at tight end, he was outstanding at the tight end position. And now here we are in 2021. The Ducks are a little bit short, and they've had some guys get banged up at the edge rush position. So what does DJ Johnson do? He goes back and works out on the defense, makes a big key stop against Ohio State, had a career high in tackles against Arizona last week. DJ Johnson now a two-way player for Oregon football. Couple that with the fact that he's already earned his degree. That's the ultimate goal for a student athlete. DJ Johnson, our graduated Duck. Sean, he's had a great season.
He's had a really good season. I still think it's underrated what he did at the end of that Ohio State game. Not only playing two ways for a shorthanded Duck squad in that game, but making the game-winning sack and also a huge first down at one of Oregon's last offensive drives. I think the last Oregon offensive drive. So he was huge in that game. And yesterday, Mario Cristobal at media, he was asked, have you ever seen a two-way player like do what DJ Johnson's doing? And he kind of thought about it for like 20 seconds. And in my head, I'm like, he's about to name some awesome Alabama player that he coached.
Maybe.
And then he just said, no, I've never seen it. And
It takes a special amount of, one, talent, and two, I think, mental ability to be able to do what he's doing, which is pretty incredible. A graduated Duck, he's already earned his degree, DJ Johnson. Graduated Ducks, always brought to you by our friends at Graduate Eugene. Graduate Eugene, the smartest place to stay for Oregon football fans. Or if you're just looking for some pre-tailgate grub, if you're ever in town and you're not staying, they have an awesome bar, awesome setup at Graduate Eugene featuring our graduated Duck. Meanwhile, Jalen Redd is a guy who's been a real weapon for Oregon. Sean, I got to ask, because Jerry's call of Jalen's touchdown and to open the game, really open the game against Arizona, was awesome. What did you think of that hot start and Jalen Redd's play against Arizona?
Yeah, my call, to be honest, I was kind of off guard. Like he caught it in the middle of the field, and I don't think anyone. Same thing with the Bennett Williams pick six. I don't think anyone thought like when that catch was made that player was going to score. But then I was like, oh, he's still on his feet. Like he broke two tackles. There was two Arizona guys right there. But I think that's just the start of what's going to be a really good season for Jalen Redd. He's proved it his entire career, and it hasn't been a huge start for a lot of guys in that wide receiver room, but I think as this long season goes on, Jalen Redd, Johnny Johnson III, I do think those guys are going to start producing more.
A former running back, Jalen Redd, and he sure looked the part when he bounced off a couple tackles. Those of you that don't know, Sean also doubling as the sports director at the student radio station KWVA, so he had the call on the student radio station as well. So we're gonna, I'm never gonna make you do this, because putting anybody up against Jerry Allen is not fair.
No.
But I had to ask on that particular one because I think everybody was caught a little bit off
I was
guard.
telling you, like, whenever you guys play on Mondays, the recap, I always get super insecure hearing all Jerry's calls, and it's still fresh in my mind how I called those plays, and so it's just like, oh man, like he called it so much better.
Well, hey, that's what happens. Jerry's been doing Oregon games now for 35 years. And he was doing play-by-play for other sports and high school down in Medford, all over the place over the years. So if you can get in even in the same sentence, this is what I always tell people, like, the fact that I even get mentioned in the same sentence as Jerry Allen, that's just ridiculous. I always just laugh at that. All right, let's get a chance to hear from Jalen Redd, Oregon wide receiver. He met with the media.
That's your first of the season. How'd that feel?
Definitely. It felt good. It felt great to get my feet wet and get in the end zone a little bit this year, but yeah, it's good. More to come.
How's your body doing? I know we've talked to you since, but not for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. You feeling like you're getting close? You're 100%. You feel like you're where you're supposed to be?
I definitely feel like I'm back. I think I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm the best me that I can be right now. I think that I put myself in a position to be where I'm at right now. Just stay patient and stay doing everything that I needed to do to get to this position. And yeah, I think I'm ready to go.
Stanford's a team you played a couple times. You guys have had some good games with them. Just kind of what's the anticipation with this Stanford team, and what do you guys see on film?
At the same time, every time you play Stanford, it's going to be a great matchup. It's going to be a great physical and mental matchup. We had a great last time I was down there, we had a great experience. This time we're trying to keep it the same way, but at the same time, it's going to be a dogfight, just like every year it is. This team, and I treat them with much respect because I know they got vets just as us. I played against some of those guys, and I know how they're going to come at us. So we got to play more than just a physical game, a mental game as well.
Because you've played here so long and you have experience with all these programs, do you look at each week a little differently in terms of knowing what the opposition maybe presents?
Definitely. I definitely think it gives me more of an advantage that the fact that I played them multiple times and seeing different amounts of people come in and out, different defenses, different personnels and that type of stuff. So I think that definitely works in my favor. So, but at the same time, I can't take any of that for granted. I got to take it as the next game, every step like it's the most important.
How would you assess where the passing game is right now?
I think the passing game is good right now. I think at the same time, it's the beginning of the season, so we might not open everything up as much as we might want to, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I think we're playing at a good time. No turnovers, as I've heard, as of right now, and we undefeated. That's all that matters right now.
I remember talking to Micah after Fresno, and he said there was just a few things that hadn't quite clicked with Anthony yet, just timing on a few routes and those sort of things. Do you feel like those things are coming along and you guys are getting more dialed in as the season goes on?
I definitely think that stuff has been cleaned up since the Fresno State game, for sure. I mean, at the beginning of the first game in camp, we had to get our feet wet with each other on the field together, you know what I mean? On the same game day, though, not practice, you know what I mean? So I think now that we all been on the same team for a little much longer, we kind of know what he sees and he kind of knows what we doing in our routes as well.
Did it take a little bit just because, I mean, Anthony played one game for you guys last year.
Exactly.
It took a little bit to get that timing?
Exactly. It just had to be timing, communication, just being comfortable, you know what I mean? So I think now everything's coming around and coming together. I think we're going to get right.
I'm curious, you've got a lot of quarterbacks here. What does Anthony's ball look like? Like, does it come out differently than, obviously Justin and some of those guys?
Actually, his ball comes out with a lot of velocity. With a lot of velocity, it's always going to be right where you want it to be at. That's the only thing. So with his ball, you just got to be prepared to run full speed and just catch it on the fly. Because if you try to anticipate a throw or slow down even a little bit, the ball's going to be right by your face. You know what I mean? So at the same time, it's just he going to put the ball where you need it to be.
But you prefer it like that, right?
Exactly.
Take us back through that touchdown, Jaylon, because it was more pre-snap than post-snap.
Right.
Because clearly you guys saw something, because you could just come on the field, and I think it was whether or not you're staying. It was like, no, I'm staying.
Yeah.
So just what was it that you saw that obviously led to?
Basically that they was running too high. We felt like we could put the linebacker in the bind, and when I got in, the linebacker ended up taking the tight end on the sit route, and I was right behind him. A play we've been kind of anticipating for the week, all week, and we kind of worked on it. So we kind of me and AB kind of had a good timing on where we wanted to catch the ball and what I wanted to do after I caught the ball. So exactly worked how I planned.
What were the few guys on this team that played in 2019 when you had so much attention on you as a team and high ranking, so much excitement around it. How has this team been able to handle that?
I think this team has handled it very well. I think we have a young team, but at the same time, it's a very mature group of young guys at the same time. So some of the leaders kind of have to push some of the guys to come above or come aboard on the same train as us, but I think that they kind of get it. I think that Ohio State game helped a lot just for the fact that they got to see everything, experience the field, the nature, the environment, you know what I mean, and see what we was able to accomplish. So I think everything is good compared to those seasons.
So maybe every athlete's confident in themselves, but that kind of provides some confirmation that, hey,
that was some reassurance, exactly, just that we could do this, we could play with these guys at this level. Because, you know, at the high school level, you're looking at Ohio State and all these other teams, and you haven't seen Oregon play them or in a while. So it's like, can we do that? So just the fact that we was able to accomplish what we did kind of creates that confidence around us.
When you look back at last year's season in 2020, you know, you guys lost so many leaders. It was a trial by fire for a lot of you guys to kind of pick up those roles. 4 weeks into this season, how have you guys kind of taken that experience from 2020 to become better leaders, and how is that kind of showing itself now?
I think actually last year was a great year, down year, for our leaders, as far as just reminding us to stay uncomfortable. You know what I mean? We didn't win as many games as we wanted to last year compared to the year before, and we felt like we should have. So at the same time, we had to come out. I feel like this year we came out and emphasized some of the little things more to the younger guys than we did last year. And that's basically what we've been trying to do and keep it consistent as the year goes on.
How's that communication between older guys and younger guys this year?
It's great, actually. Like I said, the younger guys are way mature than, you know what I mean, they may have been in the past. And I mean, they were mature in the past, but we have a great group of young guys right now. So everything right now is just a teaching moment for them. They take it all in, and we, at the same time, the leaders have no problem taking criticism from the young guys if they see something at the same time. Just hold us to the same standard, you know what I mean? So it's been a great experience this year.
Take us into that a little bit, Jaylon, in the receiver room, and that obviously you and Johnny still have the most production,
right,
and all receivers want the ball more, but it's being spread out so much that I'm sure at times it can get frustrating for people. For sure. But at the same time, you guys are winning.
Exactly.
And everybody's getting their piece, but their
right.
piece may only be one catch in a week.
Exactly. So
what does that look like for
right.
you you yourself only have one catch? It was a long
right.
catch, but.
So right now, I think we got a hungry group of dogs in our receiver room, I would say we all just want to make, we all have to have a mindset, and we kind of been emphasizing this mindset that even though we have such a good group of guys that every limited rep that we get, we got to make the most of it. You know what I mean? We got to take that one rep, like that's going to be the only rep I might get all game. You know what I mean? Just because we got so many guys rolling in and out, plus we got great running backs. We're not going to throw the ball every play, you know what I mean? So right now we just got to keep our heads up. At the same time, everybody wants the ball, you know what I mean? But you can't be selfish. We win the games, and that's going to help us at the end of the day.
How do you go about kind of staying sharp when you know you might only get 3-4 targets a game?
Like I said, them 3 targets. Whenever it's a pass play called and it's a play, you should run 100%. Your best route, give it your all, like it's your last rep that you're going to have all game, literally, or all season. That's how you got to take it, literally, like a pit bull that's never been let off the leash every rep. So that's how we got to play.
In terms of this week with Stanford, just what have you seen from, obviously you've seen them before, but some of the corners you'll face you actually haven't seen before because they're new guys and they're down a couple guys. So always have size. What have you seen from their corners?
I think they have some great young guys at corners right now. I think they're very fast, actually. They have some physical safeties. They're very patient, so it's going to be a matchup for us. It's something we're definitely looking forward to, and it's going to be a dogfight. We're ready for it.
A lot of great stuff from Jalen Redd. He was talking about the wide receiver mentality. I thought that might have been the quote of the week when he was just like, hey, man, there's a bunch of dogs in that room, and they know that they're going to have to give it their all because – well, the Ducks also have a really good run game, so the wide receivers are going to have to make the most of all those opportunities. And against a Stanford team that actually has, we've been discussing, performed pretty well against the pass, chance for the wide receivers to prove something maybe.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I said it earlier in the show. Jalen Redd is a guy who I think's been overlooked this season because he was injured to start the year, didn't necessarily start right away, and I think the touchdown pass that he caught last game was kind of the start of what I think could be a really good, not second half of the season, but kind of from game 4 on, I do expect Jalen Redd and also a couple other guys in that room to start producing even better stats.
Yeah, and I think that especially as Joe Moorhead has discussed, they want to see the completion percentage increase for Anthony Brown a little bit. Joe Moorhead said, you like to see a guy about 63, 64, 65% would be pretty good. Anthony Brown's just over 50% right now. Now, he hasn't made mistakes. He's not throwing interceptions. But getting more separation certainly helps the accuracy rating of your quarterback if the wide receivers are getting a lot more open. When we come back, we've got a little bit more to talk about around the entire Pac-12. First, though, going to talk a little bit about ankle sprains. We've all been there, and the Ducks have certainly dealt with it as well. Slocum Center Minute, and then we're back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield. Welcome to the Slocum Center Minute. Slocum Center Orthopedic Doctors are located here in Eugene and are the official orthopedic team physicians for your Oregon Ducks. With me, I have Dr. Lyle Jackson, a foot and ankle orthopedic surgeon at Slocum Center for Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, discussing ankle sprains. Dr. Jackson, tell us about ankle sprain injuries.
Ankle sprain injuries are really common. They're probably one of the most common things we see in our office. The good news is most of the time they get better just with non-operative treatment. And most commonly, people injure the ligaments to the outside of their ankle, and you can have different degrees of ankle sprains. Simple ankle sprains might just be, real mild without any bruising, and a more severe sprain would be indicated with ones that have a significant swelling and bruising where the ligaments actually tear fully.
You're touching on the different grades of ankle sprains, different types. What's the recovery like? How's it different for those different types of ankle sprains?
For different ankle sprains, with the higher grades, the recovery will be longer. I think once you fully tear the ligament, you're looking at a longer recovery than just stretching it. So I think that's why ankle sprains can be frustrating to a lot of patients, because some will recover very quickly in the matter of weeks, while some of them will take months. And certainly the ones that, take longer, we start thinking about other pathologies, such like injury to the cartilage and other things that we may want to get an MRI scan for.
Dr. Jackson, thanks for joining us. Thanks for what you do.
You're welcome.
That was the Slocum Center Minute, brought to you by Slocum Center for Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, the official orthopedic sports medicine team physicians for University of Oregon Athletics since 1967.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
What's with Mountain Dew? Mountain Dew is like a zipline of incredible flavor directly into your brain. Mountain Dew is like getting punched in the mouth with pure neon refreshment that creates a neural explosion, sending flavor shards of electric brain pulses into your very core of being. Okay, maybe that's a little over the top, but you get the idea. The fact is, the mind-bending challenge of describing the taste of Mountain Dew is way harder than just experiencing it. That, of course, is easy. Just grab a nice cold Dew, crack it open, and toss them back. Mountain Dew. Do the Dew.
This is Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. That's right. They can help save lives by simply washing their hands. Just 20 seconds of thorough hand washing after they've coughed or sneezed or been outside can help fight against the dastardly spread of germs. Armed with only soap and water and hands, your superhero can protect you, your family, and everyone out there in America land. Amazing! Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack, Sean McPherson joining us today. We're going to go through the Pac-12 schedule a little bit. Tomorrow, again, an early show. We're going to do it from 11 to noon live on our video platforms for the program. Regular location for all of our audio, podcast, obviously. And if you listen on terrestrial radio station, regular time slot for you there. But we're going to record the show, live to tape, if you will, for radio, and then live for those of you tuning in on the video streams from 11 to noon tomorrow. The reason is we got to travel down to the Bay Area. Sean's going to be going down there too. He's driving.
Driving. By the time you're recording that tomorrow, we'll be driving south.
But that's a fun road trip, though, because you, the KWVA crew, going to be making your way down there. I mean, hey, some of my best memories from college are those exact road trips from KWVA.
Yep.
So.
Lots of coffee, and it's going to be long. We're hitting the road right after the game on Saturday. So It's gonna be a lot of driving and not a very long.
So coffee though.
I'm a huge coffee guy. I'm not gonna just copy what Graham Abel said on the show the other day, but yeah, big coffee guy, and that will be key this weekend. Sure.
Graham Abel, speaking of them, by the way, if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, the Ducks will be taking on Cal at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Rob Mosley's there. He went down a little bit early. Going to do a little extra coverage on GoDucks.com of Oregon soccer taking on Cal. It's on Pac-12 Network. You can watch. The Ducks will hopefully be taking down the Golden Bears. Taking a look at the rest of the schedule for the weekend, part of your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill, we always look ahead to the schedule. So 4 o'clock today, you got Berkeley, where the Ducks will be having a little bit of a homecoming, actually, for Leah Freeman. Their goalkeeper is from that area and hoping for a victory. And then Oregon volleyball, 6 o'clock in Boulder. Colorado, a pretty good team this year.
Colorado is good. They're going to be a tough out for the Ducks and Utah.
Especially with the way that travel schedule is for Oregon volleyball, it's always a little bit of a tough trip with the mountain schools. It used to be that you would have that, say, on Friday and Saturday. It would be back-to-back. It'd be an early flight. It was no fun, but now at least they play at 6 o'clock in Boulder on Friday, and then Oregon volleyball a travel day on Saturday before an 11 a.m. start for the Ducks in Salt Lake City. Speaking of that, Oregon soccer at 1 o'clock on Sunday. All right, now, though, of course, Oregon football, a 12:30 kickoff against Stanford. This is a huge week, and Sean, I think that it's safe to say for the entire Pac-12, Oregon is the banner carrier. Is there anybody else in the Pac-12 nationally that can really stack up right now?
Not anymore, unless UCLA. UCLA is the obvious one, but they lost to Fresno State, so they have a lot of work to do if they want to be nationally relevant. And they have a really good team, but I think they have to start stackpiling wins if they want to enter that top 10 conversation like Oregon is.
More excited for Washington, Oregon State, or Arizona State, UCLA?
Arizona State, UCLA, for sure. I think that's maybe the second and third best teams in the Pac-12, if you ask me right now.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, Cal, Wazoo, battle of 1 and 3 teams. I think I know who I'm going to pick in that game. Don't ask me, Jerry and Georgie. USC, Colorado. I don't even know what to make of those two teams right now. I mean, Colorado played tough, but they just can't score any points.
They can't move the ball. No.
Oregon State. I'll just say this: if Oregon State wins that game against Washington, that sets up for a pretty darn fun conclusion to the season for the Ducks, doesn't it?
That's what I was saying earlier. I do think that Oregon State is one of the biggest challengers to Oregon in the North, and I think even more so than Washington this year, which has been rare the last couple of years.
Well, and you know what? The Beavs won the game last year. So Beaver fans are certainly going to remember that. Arizona State, UCLA, who you picking?
Arizona State, UCLA. Where is the game being played?
Pasadena.
Yeah, I'm going UCLA. I think they're the better team. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised by either result. I think, that's probably got to be a pretty close line, but I think UCLA's they're in a tier of their own as the second best team in the Pac-12.
It's a 3-point favorite for UCLA right now. And then Oregon State is a 2.5-point favorite against Washington at home. A preview of your Sylvan Ridge Winery picks. One of these days, when Sean's in town on a Friday, you're going to be the guest picker.
Sure.
And if you end up winning and Jerry and Georgie or I lose drastically, then I think we know that a substitution has to occur.
I don't know about that.
Well,
just based on 1 week of picks, I get to replace those.
Well, after 1 week of picks, Georgie has tied me. I was ahead by 2, and he's tied me now heading into this week. So, Georgie was the one that was saying, I'm never going to pick the Beavs again. And then you know what he does? He picks the Beavs, and then the Beavs win, and then that's what puts him in a tie for first place. So I say Georgie's a liar.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, do you still have that audio drop of Georgie just saying liar on the phone? Because I'm just telling Scott, if we can find that before tomorrow, I just want to play that over and over again with Georgie as we discuss Oregon State. No, he did it on the phone a while ago.
I'll see if I can find it for tomorrow.
All right, that'd be great. We got to get a timeout. When we come back, a couple more details on Oregon and Stanford on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear past, present, and future football watchers, football is back! So consider this your official excuse for always putting football watching first, courtesy of Pepsi. That haircut appointment? Seeing the in-laws for the first time in ages.
It's been so long.
Nope, sorry, Susan, not if it's on Sunday. Long story short, after the year we've all had, we think you could use a little football watching. So crack open a Pepsi and cheer your football watching face off. With love, Pepsi. Made for football watching. That's what I like.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed. Oh, yeah? Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy. Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
We were just discussing during the break and did a little digging in the archives if we could find Jorgie's famous line, and we're going to do our darndest to find it. Joey Mack, Sean McPherson, Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Finishing things up in the Country Financial Studio, 12:30 kickoff, Oregon, Stanford. And Sean, this is why I say that you could easily replace one of us, okay? The coin is hot on our heels right now. A 50-50 coin flip is hot on our heels right now. So let's remember that. And then also, one of the greatest moments in Duck Insider history, one of the greatest moments in Picks history, it was, of course, involving Jerry.
Parched. I worked hard for half.
You all did, of us, yeah. A flag.
Picks. Good work. 3 picks.
Well done. Averaged a...
Oh, right off the noggin.
Nice. Thank you. That's an interception. Well done.
Oh, man.
So,
right
Sean, I just say, as Scott found the clip, I just say, you could do better than any of the 3 people that are sitting on the set right there.
I mean, maybe for predicting games, but in terms of broadcasting or
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we are in a class of our own of ridiculousness every Friday, which is something. Really, really something. Yeah, it is an ibuprofen-filled Friday for sure. All right, a lot of Ducks in action this weekend, though. Oregon, Stanford. Sean, buddy, good to be with you, man.
Thank you.
And safe travels down there. We'll see you down on the farm. All right, you been there before?
Once, 2019.
Okay, so you're familiar.
Yeah.
All right. Oregon, Stanford, 12:30 kickoff tomorrow. Early show, doing it from 11 to noon. Jerry and Jorgie will be here, and we'll try to get through it together.
Okay, forest animals, kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow, have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. River, how's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man.
I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. Okay. Squirrel.
The forest has been preparing just for you. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you